thank you for listening to Cave's Spotlight on Giving Back. In this interview series, Cave staff will connect with members of the Chico State community and beyond who make positive impacts in a variety of ways. We hope you enjoy the conversations and are inspired to find your own ways to give back. In today's interview, I speak with Christian Hammond, who in his free time created a website that provides information on the status of the coronavirus pandemic within Butte County. This website helps people make informed and hopefully safe decisions. If you want to view his website, you can find it at www.bc9.live. That's www.bc19.live. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Keith Crawford. I am the Program Director of Community Action Volunteers in Education, also known as CAVE, and I'm very lucky to have Christian Hammond joining me today. So welcome, Christian. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Christian is the creator of BC19.live, which is the Unofficial Butte County COVID-19 Dashboard. A few terminology questions real quick. Do the cool kids call it BC19.live? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, you're saying that correctly. I figured that was going to be a little bit shorter than Unofficial Butte County COVID-19 Dashboard.com.
Yeah.
So we went with that.
Awesome. And do you refer to yourself as creator or executive director? Do you have some fancy title?
No fancy title. You can call me head janitor if you want, but no, creator.
All right. So before we learn more about your awesome project, I was hoping you could tell us just a little bit about yourself and what brought you to be able to do great projects like this in your life.
Sure. So I'm actually from Chico. And I live in the Bay Area these days. I run a small tech company. We build software for other companies to use. And that's kind of what my full-time job is, just building software and talking to customers and trying to build things that people need, which kind of led into this a little bit.
Awesome. And so you're saying you're from Chico. Did you spend your entire childhood here through high school?
Yeah, most of it. I went to college there for a bit.
Very cool. So you have some deep connections to Butte County.
I have a lot of family in Butte County for sure. I've got more connections after building the dashboard than before it.
Awesome. And so tell us a little bit more about the dashboard. Give us some of the nitty gritty.
Sure. So the dashboard is kind of a fancy amalgamation of hacked together things behind the scenes. There's a spreadsheet that tracks all the information I can find, everything from the Butte County's own dashboard information to state hospital information, state monitoring list information. And I gather all of that on a gigantic spreadsheet. And then I have stuff I built that extracts that, converts it into a form that I can then show on the webpage every day. And then from that, I take some of that data, I try to make sure I have an understanding of what I'm seeing. And then I do a daily update every day on Facebook and Twitter.
Very cool. How many people on average view the site every day?
It depends on the day. It depends on how big the update is, how big the numbers are for that day. But it usually is about 1,000 to 2,000 per day.
Wow, very cool. And what was your inspiration? What made you decide to do this project?
So I live in Santa Clara County, and we were hit pretty early on with the virus. In fact, I think we were the first in California to get it. And I wanted to have a better understanding of what was happening here. I started finding people who were volunteering their time to go and provide information on what was happening locally. Once the virus started becoming a problem up in Chico, in Butte County, I was concerned for family and friends. I wanted to make sure that they had the information they needed to be able to make smart decisions, be safe. And so I started trying to track things the same way that these other volunteers did. And that started off with a spreadsheet. And I would email that around every day. Here's what the latest numbers are. And eventually that became a bit of work. So I'm like, let's just build a web page out of it. Put some graphs in there and we'll see if anybody cares to look at it. And that was how the website was born.
So cool. I love the grassroots aspect you took with it. How much time did it take you to create from in the beginning, and then what's your daily workload like on this project?
There are a few stages to it. So initially it was about trying to go online and find all the information I could. And that took a lot. There were several really late nights where I was just pouring through data sets, trying to find anything that was done, trying to understand it, which is a harder problem than it seems. And so I would spend several hours per night on that. And then I built the website over a weekend and launched it a week later. And then these days it's about 2 to 3 hours per day. So I'll spend about an hour trying to get all the data together, trying to get all the announcements on daily reports for them up. And then I usually spend another hour at some point during the day kind of answering questions or preparing for the next day.
Yeah, and then I'm sure these changes that the state's made with I'm not sure the correct terminology, but how they're labeling different counties and counting things, those probably create some long nights for you here and there when those happen.
Oh yeah, for sure. The updates are usually for the best, but they do take a little bit of work on my end. I've had to really refine my process for this to be able to be a little more flexible in how I handle data. And even today, about 30 minutes before today's update came out, the state changed a whole bunch of ways they were portraying data on their dashboards. So I had to rewrite a bunch of my stuff frantically in about 30 minutes. And that's just part of what happens when you're trying to build something like this. You just have to be flexible.
Yeah, sounds like you're being very nimble. Do you consider yourself a volunteer? Have you, when you first started, do you now? How does that word sit with you?
I hadn't really considered it, but I think that's probably appropriate. I'm volunteering my time and actually money as well to build and run this thing.
Awesome. And before BC19.live, have you had any other community-focused projects that were just sort of out there for the good of the people, or is this your first one?
I have. I guess it kind of depends on how you define community-focused. I'm a software developer. I've worked a lot in open source software, building free products that other people would find useful. But actually, when 9/11 happened that morning, I got together with some friends and we put together kind of a news reporting service, a makeshift service. These are the days before Reddit and Twitter. And we would use it to try to keep track of all the latest news on what happened in 9/11, broadcast that out to people, and keep people informed that way.
Is that still a live project, or has it seen its end?
It's long gone. Yes. It was good for the first month or two after that happened.
Yeah, it sounds like that could have been quite useful. Christian, are there any outcomes you've seen from this project that you didn't expect when you first started?
Really, the community response has been just amazing to me. When I first built this, I really didn't think more than about 10 people would care. And I'm seeing just the reactions to it have been just heartwarming to me. It's a hard thing to report when cases rise. It's a very hard thing to report when people sadly pass away from the virus. So to see the community react so positively to the work I'm doing and to comfort each other during all this, it's beyond what I would have expected.
Yeah. And have people mentioned, changing lifestyles to you, deciding not to go on vacation because of something they read on your website, things of that nature? Yeah,
they have. Yeah, there's a lot of people who they didn't really understand the severity or what the numbers were actually doing until they started following it, and have reached out to me in private and talked about that. I don't go anywhere anymore. I use Instacart, I use DoorDash. I sanitize things. And if I've helped in that, I'm really glad.
Cool. Very cool. So would you have any advice to young folks out there who might be, looking for ways to give back, similar to what you do, and really hoping they can combine a passion of theirs? Is there any tips you could give someone sitting, where you might have been 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah, I'd say if you feel like you want to contribute in some way, don't let anything stop you from that. Don't let lack of knowledge stop you. If you want to go and build a website, or learn how data works and start to display that, or to go out and volunteer your time, I don't know, building a house or something. Don't let lack of knowledge stop you. You'll learn on the way, and you'll have people around you who will help teach you. So just, if it's what you want to do, go make it happen. You'll figure out the rest.
Good advice. And are there any other community-focused projects you might have on your mind already for whenever it happens, and we hope it happens soon, this COVID thing is done? Anything else on that brain of yours that seems like it's always coming up with ideas?
I don't really have any at the moment. I guess we'll see what the world throws at us next, and if I can help you, I will. I'm hoping that things can calm down enough so I can focus a little bit more on my job.
Yeah, it seems like you've added some extra work to your plate, but we definitely appreciate it. Last question I have, are there any volunteer-driven projects that aren't yours that have really inspired you throughout the years?
Yeah, there's been a couple. Like I mentioned when I first started building this, I kind of got the inspiration in part because other volunteers were reporting COVID-19 in my area here. And there's people throughout the country doing that. They're trying to educate locals from the perspective of a citizen rather than like regional government. And that's really inspiring to me, and it helps provide different views on this sort of information. On top of that, I'm a big fan of these charity organizations that have that kind of a video game counterpart. There's people out there who will get together a couple times a year, and they will play video games with certain challenges and incentives in order to raise money for things like Doctors Without Borders, Prevent Cancer Foundation. They're volunteering their time and what they're good at and raising literally millions of dollars per year to charity. And I think that's just phenomenal. There's so many ways that people can take what they're good at and turn it into something positive for the community.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Well, Christian, I can tell you're a busy guy, so I'm going to wrap this up. But I think I can speak for everyone in Butte County when I say thanks so much for your work on the Unofficial Butte County COVID-19 Dashboard, BC19.live. And then from us here at CAVE, thanks for taking the time to talk today.
Absolutely, my pleasure.